Let's talk about bubbles. Welcome back to Diffendice Academy. I hope you all had a great time getting started making dice, and that your perfectly imperfect first sets came out great. I had a ton of you reach out to me to say that they did, so that's awesome. Glad people are finding these useful, so we're gonna do more. Before we move into the topic of the day, I need to address one thing from the last video that seemed to confuse people. When I was talking about swirling different colors in one set of dice, I mentioned that the ideal temperature for your resin to reach for color separation to happen is 135 degrees. And that is true. However, in smaller resin pours, it won't always get all the way up to 135 degrees before it starts to harden. While generally speaking, you need to wait until 135, you should also be watching the viscosity of your resin. The best way to do this is to just tip your resin cup to the side. If it's still really free-flowing, then it's not time to pour yet. If it's started to thicken up a little bit, then it's time to go ahead and pour. Just know that. That's your clarification for today. Now it's bubble time. You've moved on to the point of frustration with your dice where you're tired of making all those tiny little bubbles. You want them to be perfect. Nice, perfect little things. And if your dice currently have bubbles in them, but you love the designs, don't worry. They're still salvageable. With just a little bit of TLC, you can actually get rid of bubbles in almost every dice. You can either fill them with UV resin, or if you're having issues with blown out corners and other stuff aside from just the top face, you can put a little bit of clear resin back into the mold and put those dice back into the mold again with that to let them cure. Just make sure if you do that all those numbers and everything are pushed fully back in all the way around the dice, otherwise you're gonna have them bulge and it's totally gonna ruin it. So be careful doing that. But if you're anything like me, that sucks. That's so much work. That's hard. It's time to talk about the elephant in the room, pressure pots. So many of you see this thing in my video and have so many questions about it, and I have a ton of answers about this thing, so we're going to talk only about pressure pots today. If you want to make and sell dice at all at any point in your life, pressure pots are completely and totally unavoidable. I'll explain what it is real quick. After you've poured your dice and they're ready to cure, instead of just setting them off to the side, you actually want to set them inside of a pressure pot and put it up to 40 psi and let it sit in there the entire time that it's curing. That pressure will take every air bubble that is inside of your dice and force them down to a size that is smaller than the human eye can see. And what results are perfect, totally, completely clear dice. You may still have some blown out corners and some bubbles that have trapped themselves around the numbers, so you still need to do the toothpicky things at the start, but a pressure pot is the answer to get nice, clear, perfect, professional level dice. And these things have a wild price range online. There's tons and tons of them that are made specifically for resin casting, and if you got the money, go ahead and spend it. I won't stop you. But not all of us do. Well, the solution that I have for that particular problem isn't necessarily cheap by itself. It's cheaper than a lot of things out there on the market. The entire pressure pot setup that I'm going to guide you through today is around $250, which is an investment. It is a big time investment, but I promise it's completely worth it if you want to be a dice seller. So I'm going to sit down on the floor, you're going to come down there with me, and I'm going to show you everything there is to show about a pressure pot. And we're going to talk a little bit about vacuum chambers too. And then after that, I'm going to show you how to make your own converted Harbor Freight pressure pot at home for resin casting, because I had to get a second one because I got way more orders on my site than I ever expected to, and I had to scale up my operation just a little bit. So I'm going to make this thing, and I'm going to take the opportunity to teach you how to do it, because that's the guy that I am. Let's get down on the floor. I don't know how this is doing audio-wise, but oh well. My microphone's way up there. Well, welcome to the floor by my desk. So this thing right here is the pressure pot that I was talking about, all right? I would show you a little bit more, but right now there is a set of dice for tomorrow's making dice with dice curing in there, and I don't want to mess with it too much. So, for now, just be patient. Now this thing is the other guy. This is a vacuum chamber. I wouldn't have bought this unless it was given to me for free by a friend of mine, which was very, very cool, very generous. But it is super useful to have. It's a nice to have kind of thing, not totally necessary. What a vacuum chamber does for resin is it pulls all of the bubbles out of it before it's even cured even a little bit. So after you mix it, you immediately put it into here and pull all of the bubbles out of it. Which is great and all, but it doesn't do anything to guarantee that you're gonna have bubble-free dice. Because there's so many other ways that bubbles can be introduced to your dice in the mold pouring process and all of that. So a pressure pot will actually connect to an air compressor. So that's the other half of what you actually need to purchase. Mine's back here behind me, otherwise I would show you right now. The compressor that I have is just a 3-gallon pancake compressor, also from Harbor Freight. Why was that so hard to say? But it only cost around $60. It was the most cost-effective one I could find. But you do need a setup thing to come with it, because these hoses and things don't really come with the compressor. So like I said, After you mix up your dice and they're fully in the mold and everything, you'll set it down in here carefully. Until I make a set of dice, there's not really much to show you, so I'll do that in this video. But first things first, we need to make one of these things. So let's do it. So this is the thing that you're going to need to buy from Harbor Freight. It's a 2.5 gallon pressure paint tank. It's specifically designed for use to paint stuff, I guess. It's like a paint sprayer thing. It's around $115 for this thing. But like I said, it needs some converting to make it work for our purposes, and then it's perfect. So let's talk about what you need to convert this thing. A 3/8 inch to a 1/4 inch adapter, 1/4 inch cap, 1/4 inch air hose connector, a 1/4 inch ball valve, and Teflon tape. You can also get a 1/4 inch by 1/4 inch female elbow if you want. It's nice to have, but not completely necessary. So let's get working. Cardboard, plastic, and then the thing that we need. As you can see, it's pretty basic when it comes out of the box. There's a few things installed on the top here, but we're going to take those things out. When you open it up, you're going to see that it has this big stick thing on the bottom. That also has to go. This is where your pressure gauge is. This is just a handle so you can carry the thing around. I like to put it on because it's nice to lift the lid with it, because this thing's still a little heavy. And I keep mine on the floor because that's the easiest, most level space when you live in a studio apartment with a wife, a dog, and a cat. So you will need a couple tools to do everything we need to do. I just use a nice adjustable wrench and my little... Man, I used to be an engineer. Whatever this is. This little guy. It's actually pretty easy to take it out. So you can just unscrew it by hand. And once it's out, toss it off to the side. You're done. Congrats. You can push the pot off to the side because everything we're going to be doing is going to be right here on the lid. Because you're not going to be using almost anything on here except for this guy. So take it all apart, take it all off, leave this guy for yourself. Save this thing. You will need it. It's for safety. It's hard. Hooray. Yeah. They can be pretty hard to do. So if you have a clamp that can keep this thing down, use that. I don't though. So we gotta rely on brute strength. There we go. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, come on now. Only part of it came out. I would like to rage. 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 There we go. Wasn't that easy? Now we need to make this thing match this thing. So let's do it easiest thing at a time, right? We'll start with this little guy right here. This little thing that we saved. It's just a little pressure release. If your pot goes above a certain pressure to the point of it being unsafe, this will actually release a little bit of that pressure for you. So it's a nice little safety measure. But the problem is this hole's a little too big for that. This is why we got the adapters. So go ahead and grab yourself one of those babies. And this is where the most important thing of all of this needs to be explained. This Teflon tape stuff. You want to wrap this around the male threads of every single thing that you're screwing into here. Because this has to be airtight. And the best way to ensure that this is airtight is to use this stuff. So you'll take it and you'll wrap it around 4 times. That's the magic number. That's gonna look a little weird, but I promise it's what you need. You gotta work it in there. Now it's important that you don't over tighten this because everything that we're working with are brass fittings. Brass is a pretty soft metal and it's likely to split and warp if you do things wrong. Trust me, I did several things wrong the first time I did this. After you have your little converter in there, it's time to go ahead and put in a little check valve thing. It's not a check valve. I don't remember. Whatever. Your little pressure release. After you add Teflon tape, just go ahead and put that in there. Again, don't over tighten. And bam, there we go. That part's good. We're almost there. Now let's take a look at your regulator. We just need to add a couple things onto this and then we are good to go. So on this right hand, it's your right, it's to the right of the pressure gauge on this side. We're just gonna cap that off. So put your Teflon tape on those threads and put that little cap that we got on there. And with that Teflon tape, that same method we were doing, you'll connect this elbow, then you'll connect your ball valve, and then you'll connect your little compressor hookup that should come with your little compressor setup kit. And you will be done and off to the races with your working pressure pot. Now you can put the handle on if you want to. I would recommend it because you don't want to be lifting by that regulator. It's not very good for it. That said, there's still one more thing we have to do because there might be leaks and we got to chase them down. Once you're able to put the cap on and start chasing down leaks, it's actually pretty easy. You want to secure it down as tightly as you can without over-tightening, that's very important. Then you want to pressurize the tank a little bit. You very well could have done it correctly the first time like I did with this one, but you might be losing pressure fairly quickly. The easiest way to find the connection points that are leaking is to take a little bit of soapy water and to drip a bit of it onto the connection points. If a leak is happening there, you'll see the water start to bubble up a bit. If nothing happens, you're probably fine. But if it does bubble up in that particular spot, give it a little bit of a tighten. Again, don't over-tighten. Please do not over-tighten. One last thing to keep in mind before you start using this thing is that the bottom of the inside of this pot is not actually perfectly flat. It's a bit concave. You want to get some kind of circular wooden piece, you can get those special ordered, and set it down in there and your stuff will be perfectly level. Hooray. And once you've chased down all your little leaks and stuff, you are done. You have your pressure pot, congratulations. You can now make professional dice. And if you're still not convinced, which I don't know how you wouldn't be at this point, I'm gonna make 2 sets of dice with the same ingredients and cure one in the pressure pot and cure one outside. And that'll really show you the difference between these two things. To really show the difference, I want to make mostly translucent dice, but I still want to put a little color in there, because why not? Since alcohol inks are mostly translucent, let's go ahead and roll for 44. That's rose gray. I wasn't as careful as I normally would be when I was stirring and pouring these things because I wanted to introduce as many bubbles as possible to really show you the difference. Because it is really quite dramatic, and that was the best way to go about it. But isn't this color weird? Rose gray, yeah, it makes sense. Now I always put the mold down, then a silicone mat on top, then the piece of wood, and one of my crappy, messed up D20s to weigh it down. That just helps ensure that the lid stays flat, and I don't get any huge lip or anything on any of these dice because these molds aren't great. But look at that new pressure pot go, all the way up to 40 PSI and held right there. And then our other friend was relegated to the shelf of shame. So that means the rest of this video, I'm filming tomorrow. 12 hours later. Okay, so it's the next day, and these are the 2 dice sets that we made. The one on the left here is the one that was made outside of the pressure pot. The one on the right is the pressure pot ones. You could use context clues to figure that out. Anyway, let's go ahead and crack these open and take a look at just the tops. There's still a couple bubbles over here on the right-hand side, because I wasn't super careful about how I poured these ones, because they were just to demonstrate what the pressure pot can do. My last video covered a way to make sure that this kind of thing doesn't happen. So do that. Look at that. On my left-hand side, you can see there's bubbles all the way through the top of this thing, which is about what you can expect if you don't use a pressure pot. And that feels bad, man. It does not feel good. It's something you can ignore if you want to just make gifts for your friends and stuff, like I said, but this doesn't really work for professional quality dice. And you can see immediately just how clear these ones are. There's not a single bubble on the inside, just a bit of air that might have gotten trapped around the numbers and came up, like on these 2 ones here. Nothing terrible, easily fixable with some UV resin. I'm just going to pull the D6s out to show you the difference between them, because the D6 is the easiest to see it with, so let's do that. Now, you can see there's all sorts of imperfections on this left-hand one, going all the way through the dice. It's not just on the top side. You got bubbles down on the bottom, you got bubbles throughout the dice itself. It would still be serviceable, but you know, it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel perfect. This one, on the other hand, despite being in a mold that gave it a little bit of a matte finish, it's pretty good. There's a few minor errors and things, but there's no bubbles anywhere through these things. And they're technically there, they're just smaller than we can see, because that's how this thing works. I already explained that. So there you go. That's your argument for using one of these things. And that's it. That's everything you need to know about a pressure pot and how to make your own from Harbor Freight for a lot cheaper than these other ones you're going to find online. Because trust me, $250 for this whole thing together is better than $250 for just a pressure pot by itself. If you don't mind a little bit of legwork, which I certainly don't, it's going to be worth it, I promise. But now you might be thinking to yourself, Travis, I really want to learn how to do all of those crazy different things that you do over in Making Dice with Dice. I'm so tired of just making single colored dice and maybe a little bit of a swirl here and there. How do I do all those crazy things? I'm so frustrated by only being able to do the limited things that you've taught me how to do. Then you're gonna have to tune in to the next one.